Three, two, one. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel with me, the Eagle Reviewer slash Reactor. And as you can read from the title, yes, I'm gonna just be discussing Project Hail Mary, and I'll explain all about that as well and what's going on. But as you read from the title, screw the trailer. Let's talk about Project Hail Mary. And so yeah, there's not going to be a trailer reaction because I have actually already seen the movie. So it is currently a little bit after March 10th. It's kind of late at night, but on March 10th at night, I did go to an early screening of the film, which was awesome. So I am still going to watch it opening weekend. I'll explain a little bit about that later, but I was able to go see it earlier for free, by the way. So that was a nice touch. So, I didn't really have anything going on that particular day. My schedule was clear for those few hours. So during that narrow window of time, I was like, yeah, I could go and check it out. So sadly, I'm not going to do a trailer reaction. I did watch the final trailer. I think that's the only trailer I remember watching, like right before the screening, honestly. And I was like, I just don't want to, watch and react it too much because I don't feel like they really gave us too much. I feel like I can already tell most of the story because I listened to the audiobook, which I'll explain. So yeah, there's not going to be a trailer reaction to it. I was really looking forward to doing one, but since my screening was already coming up and there just wasn't really enough time, I am planning on doing a trailer reaction to the Mario movie, and I think I'll record that one maybe right after this video, just so that you guys have that as well. So note that that'll be coming soon. I just have to edit this video and then that video, and then we'll have some more content coming on the channel. I'm telling you guys, we're already in March. Spring is here, so things are flying by now for sure. So yeah, expect more to come out. Maybe I can do Michael as well if I do end up watching it. Michael Jackson, of course, if that wasn't clear. And I don't know, there's quite a bit coming out, you guys, so just looking forward to it, honestly. Anyways, let's discuss where I'm at here. So earlier on March 10th, right, I just finished listening to the audiobook, and what I did exactly is I did get the Audible audiobook for Project Hail Mary, and I did get it. I did listen to it by Ray Porter as my narrator. I think he was probably the most popular option, so it may have just been the default. And he did a really good job. So I'm just gonna explain the book first and then the movie. So maybe that'll be the latter half of this, just to clarify that. But the book, you guys, wow! Like Project Hail Mary, the audiobook. I didn't get the physical book, so I can only speak about the audiobook. But Ray Porter did a great job. What I do is I would, wear my Bluetooth earbuds and listen to him throughout the day, just being in this room, listen to him narrate, and he did really good for the voices. I imagined all the scenes playing out in my head, like someone was telling me a story, and I was seeing everything play out, and it was awesome. It's probably one of my favorite books. I haven't actually been reading a lot of books recently. I don't know why, I just haven't had time. I used to read a lot more books earlier, but I was like, you know what, I should stay educated. And I'm glad that this book was written by Andy Weir, who also wrote The Martian. I did read the physical copy book of The Martian. So I did read that. I read it after I saw the movie, and I enjoyed it. And just to compare the two, I will say that the Project Hail Mary book is it felt more sciencey, more technical in my opinion. So I don't know what your opinion about that is. Again, it's been a couple of years since I read The Martian, but Project Hail Mary definitely felt like maybe he was trying to add more evidence to it because what's it, the Martian guy, I forgot what his name was. He was a botanist. That was like his main job, I guess, and then he became a Martian, which was not really supposed to go as planned. Like he was supposed to return back to Earth, but I think his crew, I think they thought that he died, I guess, but he was still alive on Mars, and eventually he comes back home, right? Whereas, sorry if you haven't read The Martian. I don't want to spoil too much more if you are looking forward to it, but come on, like at this point, what are you waiting for? No, I get it. But Project Hail Mary, however, felt more sciencey, more technical to me, as far as I can remember. I don't know how true that is. And Ryland Grace is a um, molecular biologist, right? That was his main occupation before he became a middle school teacher, right? He taught eighth grade, and yeah, we learned some pretty cool facts about him, and I enjoyed it. There were parts where I'm like, all right, I can just skip through some of the science and technical stuff here. I don't know how true it is because I can't really verify this. I just have to trust that it's real. Again, I'm not a scientist in any way, but the book was entertaining throughout, and it's probably I'm so glad I listened to it. It's one of my top books, I think, right now for me, just because it combines the space sci-fi stuff that I'm really into, along with more science technical flavor to it, I guess, and I think it blended fairly well. Yeah, again, you got shorter chapters, longer chapters, but you know, you got flashbacks going throughout. But overall, it was a great book. All right. Now let's get into the movie. I don't think I really spoiled anything about the book, but I am gonna talk about the movie, and there are gonna be spoilers in this. Before I do talk about the movie, I will say though, because I believe the embargo has been lifted, right? I just want to make sure. Project Hail Mary embargo date. Okay, yeah. So the review embargo for the movie lifts on March 10th, 2026. So this will be up on March 11th. Early social media reactions began appearing in late February, while full critical reviews will be released on March 20th. Okay, let me click on this link here. Okay, yeah. So the review embargo lifts March 10th, 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And the release date is March 20th. Okay. I didn't want to get any trouble or anything, you know. Again, this is why I avoid copyright as much as I can and just not wanting to get in trouble by anyone or any studios. Again, I was glad I was able to attend an early screening. And I believe Project Hail Mary, they did do their early screening partnership with Amazon MGM. And I believe I did a similar thing for Superman as well, but that was only like, I think a day or something before the actual release date. It wasn't anything crazy like this. So I am planning on watching it a second time in an actual movie theater where I watched it wasn't a typical local, you know, cinema area, I guess, with my friends and everything, and in a bigger screen, probably. I'm assuming the screen will be bigger there. And if they drop anything like Spider-Man related, Spider-Man Brand New Day, I'll probably make a video about that. So you might just see me make a video later on titled, you know, Project Hail Mary update or Spider-Man Brand New Day. Let's talk about it or something. So expect that to come as well. Just so you know. All right, now let's talk about Project Hail Mary. Okay, honestly, at first I was like, I'm gonna be at a loss at words because again, I don't know if you've read the audiobook or not. So I think I'm gonna have to walk you through the story because there's no guarantee you've read the audiobook. If you have, I'll speak about both sides to it, so I guess you'll know what you're getting and what you're missing out on. So the movie has a similar start to the book, and I think I forgot if the first line is the computer asking what's 2 plus 2. I think instead it first says eye movement detected, and then it asks him what's 2 plus 2, and then he responds 4. I will say the movie does try to get through some of the earlier chapters sooner, just because you know it can't go on more than a day. It's like 2 hours and like 30-40 minutes long, I guess. So expect some condensing going on for sure. I think one of the guys at the screening told me that they were going to add some stuff to the movie as well. I will say, I don't think they really added anything. More than anything, I think they took away from some of the more sciencey and technical stuff, in trade for more humorous moments, I guess, which I think is fine. Again, I'm one of those people who, you know, I joke about it saying I'm going to criticize how accurate it is to the book. I don't care. The movie can be its own thing as long as it adapts from the book. It's what it is. It's an adaptation of the novel, and it can adapt most of it. characters can play their part, and it can have its own spin to it, its own twist. That's why we make a movie for it, so it can add its own gravitas, its own flavor to it, and it can change a couple of things that could only work in a movie format. I'm fine with all that, right? You want to make some minor tweaks for adding some comedic moments, sure, go ahead. I'm not gonna take off any points for that. I'm not grading, okay, did they copy this? Did they copy that? In the movie, I did do that sometimes. Like during the screening when I'm like, yo, this is just wrong. I shook my head, but again, it's all fun and games, I guess. So if you've read the audiobook, I will say about 80 to 90% of it is pretty much on par, like when it takes place, I guess. The flashbacks to the real-time sequence aren't as accurate, if you're wondering about that, so there are some differences there. Like some of the transitions are pretty clear, but others not so much, I guess. But you know, like in the book, you got flashbacks happening throughout. In the movie, expect something similar as well. And there are just not really that many people in the movie. Like if you were to count how many there are, there's not too many. The movie's pacing. I skipped the plot. I'll get back to the plot in a bit. I just want to speak on some technical stuff here. I was never bored of watching it. I thought the pacing was perfect only because I listened to the audiobook. So I was just waiting, okay, when does this happen? When does this happen? When does this happen, right? And I was listening to Ray Porter narrate it to me at like 1.4 to 1.7x speed. So I was like, I was already fast tracking everything, you know. I was like, okay, I know this is gonna happen, then this happens, then that happens, then, right? So I was just like, check, 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 check. And I was like, okay, yeah, I figured it out where we're at so far. So for me, the pacing was never really an issue, but maybe to some others it might be. But I was never bored while watching it. The visuals, the cinematography, it was so stunning. And some people were saying that if you've read The Martian, seen The Martian, some people were saying that Ryan Gosling did a better job portraying his character with Project Hail Mary than Matt Damon did in The Martian. I don't know how true that is, but that is a general consensus I got, and I think more people that I've heard, or a few people that I heard after walking out of the screening, like Project Hail Mary more than The Martian. Again, The Martian is like one of my top sci-fi films. It's up there, and then of course you have Interstellar at the top, of course, because you know Nolan and his work. But the thing is, Interstellar might be too much for some people if you're not really able to understand it. But of course, it is a visual feast. Um, but yeah, I don't think I liked it as much just because I kind of watched it more recently, I guess. But I enjoyed it. Like, I'm not gonna say I didn't enjoy Interstellar. Like, who didn't? I enjoyed it. Well, like, what's not to enjoy in Interstellar, right? I think it's just because you had more characters really giving it their all to the roles. Of course, more people do that in this one, but it's more like simplified, I guess. You know, got the whole sun is dying thing and everything, you know, and then explaining the astrophage. And he is a school teacher, so you know, I liked seeing some of the accurate moments in it, and the way that I don't know how they filmed those space scenes, man. That's what I was interesting because I know they filmed most of the movie, I believe, in London, right? I think that's where they filmed it. It may have been cheaper to shoot there. I don't know the entire logistics behind that, but yeah, I just don't know how they filmed the space scenes because they look pretty darn good. They looked awesome. I have no complaints there. So I'm just wondering who did that. And actually, Project Hail Mary. The composer for Project Hail Mary is Daniel Pemberton, who did the score behind it. And I'm just trying to see what else did he do. Of course, they got the guys from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse to work on this. That's what I felt like it. And let's be honest, guys, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is one of my top favorite Spider-Man films. I liked it more than Across. I think it's just because Across is kind of a two-parter in and of itself, whereas Into is kind of condensed into one. And again, it came out in 2018 when you had some of my favorite films come out. You had Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Mission Impossible Fallout, Avengers Infinity War, you know, from like some of my favorite franchises. You had like back-to-back nonstop Ant-Man and the Wasp. No, I'm kidding, Ant-Man and the Wasp was fine. And better than Ant-Man 3 for sure. Luis was, they just gave him just some of the best lines in that movie. But anyway, getting sidetracked there. So yeah, the guys who worked on it, I think did a really good job. I know they gave a bunch of interviews. I haven't seen a single one. I just didn't have time. I was too busy listening to the audiobook or watching the trailer, you know. I mean, not until I finished it. I was trying to avoid it, but everywhere I scroll, I see his face. No, I'm kidding. On Instagram or something, I'd find a clip to Project Hail Mary trailer, and I'm like, no, no, not yet, not yet, not your time. Um, where's Not Your Time from? Oh, it was from Bad Boys for Life. Or was it Ride or Die? I keep mixing them up. Whatever the newest one was. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, it was just awesome. Like, it was really epic. I enjoyed it so much. The sound was like, it was fairly loud. I don't know why. Maybe because I was closer to the theater where I was sitting, but you know, I think the sound mixing, the editing, everything was done really well. And I think Ryan Gosling just delivered a really good performance as Ryland Grace. I have no idea if he's read the book or not, or listened to the audiobook or not. Again, if you guys are planning on reading Project Hail Mary, just listen to the audiobook. If you can, buy Ray Porter from Audible, because that's just something that is an experience of itself. I think I liked the book a bit more than the movie, and I'll get to the ratings later, just because we were able to go further with the story, dive deeper, and explore more. So I think that's why I like the book a little bit more. The movie obviously had to condense itself, but for what it was worth, again, another guy at the screening literally said they couldn't have adapted it better. I may have made some minor tweaks because towards the middle ending of the film, right? Ryland, if you've read the book, you obviously know that he chooses, he sends in the four Beatles. I wish they explained a bit more about the Beatles. That was one of the things where I was like, we could have explained this a little bit more. I guess they didn't. Again, the movie doesn't want to go too sciencey, too technical, kind of like the Martian movie, but I think they could have explained it a little bit more. And I have no idea if people were lost when they were watching the movie because the book doesn't ever make you feel as lost or confused. If you had any questions, just read the book because the book will actually explain it to you and then some. Right? It's for both beginners and experts. Well, not experts, but people who know more about science, I guess. So I think almost anyone is really able to follow along with his books, and that's what I'll say. Whether you're just starting out or really experienced with science, like Andy Weir does a really good job of making sure like if you want, you can skip some of this. No one's going to penalize you. I mean, he may not be accurate himself, but as long as you're having a good time with the story, the material, you're having fun, and that is exactly what he intended to do. So yeah, I wish they explained a bit more about the Beatles and the astrophage. They did kind of explain it, but they were going through it at a fast pace. Again, I was already caught up to speed because I read the book. But maybe if you weren't, you may have had some questions, and I will just say the book does kind of explain that in a more simpler tone, just because it's given the luxury of having 30 whole chapters to tell you the entire tale. So, you know, it'll provide more detail, but the movie does a good enough job, I will say. Of course, the main build-up is to when Rocky and Ryland Grace meet each other, which is nice. And oh my goodness, this movie has so many good songs that they pulled into it. Like the whoever worked on the album for the film, really good job. They really picked some really nice songs in this one for sure. And of course, he meets Rocky. They have some funny moments, I guess. But of course, the plot is the same. Both of their respective sons are dying. They got to work together. They go to the Tau City. They go to the planet. Of course, we get flashbacks. Meanwhile, where Ryland Grace eventually ends up, becoming part of the mission. And yeah, that's one of the plot points there. Again, there's not really too much that happens or really anything you're confused about if you haven't already read the book. And that's just why I like the book more, only because you get more time to spend time with these characters rather than being like, all right, spend 2.5 hours, let's pack up and leave. Like, no, that's just not happening, I guess, with the book. You can spend as much time as you want. I don't know if I'd want to pick up the physical copy because I'll be honest, the first time I read it, I had to sort of go through the audio in a hurry. But if I have the physical book, I can actually go through it a couple more times, and actually appreciate it or enjoy it a bit more. But is there anything I would have done differently? I don't know. Again, I guess like explaining the Astro page more, what the Beatles were about more. Um, and they didn't really do that many like sign stuff with Rocky and Grace while they were working together, whereas the book dedicates a good handful of chapters just to that. But they got most of the major stuff. Most of the major stuff was definitely in the film, so you're not missing out on that. What else? And of course, they didn't really go too far into explaining when Rocky or when Grace eventually goes back to save Rocky because the Talmiba, right? And again, they sort of misdirect some of the characters as well, and I'll get back to where I'm at right now. Like Yao in the movie, they made him kind of a funny guy, but in the book, it's believed he is not really like that. And we I guess in the movie we spend a bit more time with these characters, but not too much. I mean, either way, there's not that many people in the movie, anyways. Maybe that helped with the budget. I don't know. I guess Ryan Gosling got most of the pay cut, and yeah, man, I don't know. Um, I don't know how they made Rocky. Like, just the engineering and the whole puppeteering they must have done must have really been something. Um, in the movie, in the trailer, he says it is time go. He never says that in the book. There's a couple fist bump jokes. I'm pretty sure they never happen in the book either. What else? What else? Now I'm gonna criticize. No, I'm kidding. Of course, they're gonna add some humor to do it. Like, who wouldn't? I guess they gotta make it a little bit more funny. But yeah, Yao's character they changed it a little bit. Rocky they made him say some stuff that he never really ever said in the book. What else? But most of it they kept intact. Most of it they kept intact, and then of course, Grace goes back to Rocky because the other thing is the Talmiba, right? They sort of coined a bunch of terms like together, but in the movie, or of course we know in the book that Rocky does get sick, right? Because he tries to save he tries to save Grace, right? And then Grace tries to help him out, I guess. But in the book, we found out that the stuff that Grace was doing to Rocky, he shouldn't have done it, and it just ended up making his condition a bit more worse, I guess. And yeah, I guess the movie doesn't really go too far into that path. Like he coins the in the movie, he coins the Talmiba when Rocky is sick and not active, I guess, still sleeping. So yeah, that's just inaccurate. But of course, when Grace goes back, because he knows that the Talmud are able to survive in the Xenonite, which is present in Rocky's ship. They don't really go fully sciencey with that. And also during the goodbye exchange, right? Rocky gives or Grace gives Rocky the laptop, right? So that they can study a lot about human technology and the stuff that they've done. Whereas in the book, similar thing happens, and in return, Grace asks Rocky for Xenonite. Um, but in the movie, he asks to study his ship. But I think Rocky makes it pretty apparent that he's not allowed to go on a ship because it would be dangerous for him, I guess. Um, but I guess I wanted to make it more interesting and more entertaining, which is fine, but that's why we're not getting a 10 out of 10, my guy. That's why we're not getting it. But it is a visual feast for sure. Because I guess like, if you got the Xenonite, maybe it would have been more boring. It's cooler to just to see what an alien ship looks like. So there we go. And the ending is pretty much on par the exact same. Like he sends in the Beatles, they get all of his recordings. In the book, he didn't really make recordings that much, I guess, or really ever. I think in The Martian, Mark Watney, that's his name, right? I think I got it. Took me a bit to get there. Um, he does log stuff, I believe, but I don't think in the book in Project Hail Mary, Ryland Grace doesn't really log stuff as much. Because in the movie, he's doing like video logs and all of that, and Rocky asks what he's doing. Maybe he does a couple, but I don't think he does as much as they show in the movie. But yeah, every space movie at this point does that, so why the heck not? And of course, on Earth, like they get the Beatles, they get all the answers, I guess. Um, and I wish in the movie though they didn't do this, but I wish in the movie they did a similar thing in the book where, um, I don't think they did it in the movie. I'm trying to remember because in the book, Rocky's the one who tells Grace um, that their son is safe, and that the Talmiba must have gotten to Venus, and along the Petrova line they must have eaten the astrophage, and that's why their son is good as new. I guess I don't even know what that would mean. And I wish that they had done a bit more with that scene in particular. Um, but the ending's the exact same, and I'm glad about that. So yeah, as a rating, you're not getting a 10 out of 10. But again, what can I say? Visual feast. The editing, the sound, the score, the mixing. They must have read the book. Like, there's no way they could have just guessed this. And let me see this. Okay, yeah, Andy Weir was involved as a producer for Project Hail Mary, which he praised for exceeding his imagination through Gosling's performance and the direction of Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. He noted that as a plot-driven author, the film's adaptation helped visualize his characters and praised the adaptation's ability to bring depth to Riley and Grace, whom he consciously designed to be different from his own personality. Okay, so hey, if the author's happy, you've done a good job. Like, I'm glad that he was involved as a producer for the film. I didn't really stick around for the credits too much because it was already getting late, so I was like, alright, I need to eventually head back and make a video about it and do some other stuff in between. Yeah. But what can I say? Like, I really enjoyed the film. They adapted most of it, again, about 80%. The major chunks they hit, of course. Again, I don't know what more you'd want. And did the movie feel long at all to me? No, because I was just waiting for everything to happen. If anything, I wish it was longer so they had more time for it to breathe and explain more. So I definitely don't think it was too long at all. But yeah, again, like I said, for a rating, it's not a 10 out of 10. It's not. It is 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, see? There you go. You just weren't there. No, I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I really enjoyed it. And again, that's why I am going to see it again. Opening weekend, I guess. You'll still call it that way. And maybe I'll pick up on some more stuff, And this way I can actually contribute to the film's box office success, I guess. Which I guess maybe that's why the screening was for free, I guess, because they aren't really charging anyone tickets yet. I still had to RSVP for it, of course, and it was packed. But anything else too crazy, I should add. Alright. What else? So I am going to see it again, opening weekend. Expect more to come soon. But that's about it, you guys. Yeah, I think the only other film I give a 9.5 was Fantastic Four, and that was comparatively ranked to other recent MCU films that we'd gotten, so I think it deserved that spot, but yeah, it's tough to get a 9.5. And then I think I gave Sonic 3 a 9, so if you're just wondering how my past ratings have been, like, on this scale, then you'll know for sure. I did watch Fight Club. I gave that movie an 8.5, deservingly so. Whereas my friend who wanted me to watch it and was more interested gave it an 8. I'm generous when it comes to these things. If I like a film, I'll be honest for sure. But that's about it, you guys. Eagle Rose Reactor is out. Take care. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.